Thank you for joining us today for this technical walkthrough of Yeet. We are thrilled to have Koala from their team co-hosting the session. Koala will guide us through the key functionalities of their code base and share valuable insight into their smart contracts. And from the Immunefi side, I'm Daniel, and I'll be co-hosting this event alongside Heat's technical expert. Currently, the Immunefi is hosting another competition for Yeet with a 30K flat reward pool. The asset list, it's in pure Solidity code, and this is a great opportunity for a security researcher to dive into the project, explore its code base, and identify vulnerabilities. With that, I lend it over to you, Koala, to dive into the technical side.
Yes, so thank you, Daniel. Very excited to be here. So, should I then just go ahead and share my screen then and dig right
Sure.
into the code base? So, let me just give you a brief overview of how it works, right? And how we expect assets to move through our contracts here. So we have two parts of our protocol. One is the simple game. We call it the Yeet contract. That's when people come to our website, they interact with the game, and then they make a Yeet act of depositing and entering this game. And then we have a different part, which we call the trifecta, which is where Yeet and some other protocols on Bear Chain have been building some really amazing token economics. We have a flywheel that basically use a wallet and some other incentives to make this flywheel work. So that's the DeFi part, and these parts are connected. So some of the game revenue, we have a tax split on all revenue coming into the game. Some is of course staying within the game, and some is then diverted through this trifecta in different ways. But yeah, I think that's enough overview. We can just dive straight into it. So why don't we look at the Yeet game? So I would say it's actually quite straightforward. Of course, we still have a lot of functions in this contract, but let me go to the Yeet function. Yeah, so here we go. This is the function that the players will call every time they enter the game. It doesn't really have that many paths. It just has some basic validations to make sure that all the criteria is fulfilled. Then here's like a tax split. So you can see we some value to the pot, some to the Yeet back, which is kind of a lottery. Stakers, public goods, and then team revenue. So the value to stakers is actually the value that's going to flow through the trifecta, which I will show you later. Yeah, again, pretty straightforward. Just some small ifs and else. Then we, emit the message. Again, just a tiny ifs and else. And then we record the Yeeting volume, because part of this protocol, we are giving out daily rewards to all the people that are using our game to kind of incentivize them. So even if they don't win, they still get something. So we record the volume here in the reward contract, and then we pay them out daily at midnight UTC in a pro rata way. And then we can see that we also add the deposit rewards. So here we send the valid stakers to a staking contract, which we will go and look at next. We also have the Yeet bag, which is part of the lottery, where every act of depositing into this game gives you a lottery ticket. And at the end of each round, there's 10 winners who will be receiving. So basically, we will take from all these lottery tickets, we will take 10 and give them some percentage of the pot. Otherwise, this contract is pretty straightforward. We have some methods to restarting the round. Of course, there's some method to claim for the winner, and then just a bunch of smaller helper function. Again, I think this is one of the most pretty straightforward contracts. So why don't we look at the staking contract next? And this is kind of how the flow of assets is happening through our protocol. This is the stake v2. So let me find it. So this one, deposit rewards. So basically, the Yeet game contract is coming here, and it's depositing rewards that's being saved in this contract. It's being saved so it can later be moved by a manager account that we have set up. So we can move the Bera, the native token of Berachain that's been accumulated, so then we can move that into our Zapper that's gonna convert some of this Bera into our own Yeet token, and then take that and put that into our vault. And we do that in this function, execute reward distribution. Well, this is the Yeet, this one, execute reward distribution. So basically here we take all the accumulated Bera and we zap it in with our Zapper to the destination of our vault. For this, you can see this input parameters. We use a service called Ooga they are the swap data providers of Berachain. And if you want to know more, there's, I think it's called docs.oogabuga.io or something, to try and understand exactly how all these parameters works. I also think there are some test cases that are highlighting how it works. Otherwise, the staking contract, yeah, okay. So after the Zapper has inputted, deposited the Bera, it's been accumulated, we return the shares minted, which then are being credited to the users. So the users, in this case, when they come in and stake the Yeet token in our contract, they will be receiving the try Yeet token as the rewards, which are gaining value because the vault is compounding. So these try Yeet tokens are gaining value for users if they don't do nothing. And then the users have the option to come and redeem them as Yeet tokens. Again, there's some smaller helper functions. We do have something that's we do have a vesting period. So for all the people that come into the vault, there's a 10-day unstaking period. During this period, you're not earning any rewards or any benefits from the vault. You can leave at any time, but you will be taking a haircut, a loss. So on day one, if you want to exit, I think it's 50%. So if you want to exit after day one, it's 50%. If you want to exit after day two, 55%. Like the value that you get back, so to say. And we call this rage quit, which is when you can exit earlier, but you kind of need to burn some of the token that you stake to be able to leave earlier. Otherwise, quite straightforward in terms of execution of the code. Again, it says they can claim here in native. So that means that they will convert the try Yeet shares that they have to either the native token, which would be Bera, or the token one in the vault contract, or the token 0, token 1, or in any whitelisted token that is whitelisted in the vault. Okay, how I'm doing so far, Daniel? Doing good?
Fantastic. Feel free to continue over the other smart contracts if you feel there some clarifications are needed. Or
Yeah. Yeah, no, but then let's go into a quick overview of the Zapper then.
cool.
So in the Zapper, we have a couple methods. I think it's, again, I keep saying it's kind of straightforward. If you've done anything, this is nothing new, so to say. We didn't reinvent the wheel here. But you can zap in without swapping. You can zap in with the native token, token 1, token 0, or like any kind of token. Again, this any kind of token has the requirement that the vault is gonna support that token. So basically, we need to whitelist the tokens, and we also have some mechanics, where we can only use the whitelisted vaults. We can also zap out in the same way we zap in. So there is some same here. Yeah, and then just a bunch of helper functions to keep manager and updating the state of the contract. And then after it's been zapped in, actually, so let's talk about this. So let's do an example here when we zap in, right? Give you a bit of a deep in. Where's the native one? Yeah. Okay. So we put in some native tokens. In this case, this Bara, where we swap native tokens. We'll go in. We convert this Bara to W Bara, and we basically just check, what kind of tokens do we need to swap this Bara to. In our case, our vault is a Yeet W Bara pair, so only half of this is going to be swapped into Yeet. So do the verify and swap. This should be the Ooga Booga part of the code. So all these swap parameters come from Ooga Booga, and then we're using their underlying router to make the swap happen. And when we have made it happen, just get a look at this last one then. Basically, it just swaps, and then we get the amount out. Let's go back. Native, yeah. So this gives us back the swap result. With that, we go to the Yeet in function, which approves the liquidity for the Kodiak vault, which Kodiak is like Uniswap on Bear chain. They have a bunch of pools. So we're gonna then add the liquidity to them, and this is part of the trifecta, where we basically just add the liquidity to them. But after we've done that, right? So we're not really done here with the trifecta. It gets a bit more complicated. So we add our liquidity to the Kodiak pool. We get back the Kodiak tokens that they minted. Then we take these tokens and we put them into a different vault. This is the Baradrome. So if we look at the deposit into vault function, we can see that we should be using uh, somewhere here. Yeah. So here we deposit them into barrel drum, which is gonna use this assets for us to amplify the APY. So that's the flow. User steps in, we convert them via Ooga Booga, deposit them into Kodiak, and then in the end we give them to barrel drum. And well, no, this is how we give, so put them into our vault, and our vault then puts the Kodiak shares into Ooga Booga. So let's go and have a quick look at how that works. On the deposit compound, we should also talk about. Deposit. Well, deposit somewhere, but basically, here we go. So this is our vault, right? The Zapper will deposit into our vault. The Kodiak LP tokens that we minted will be deposited into our vault in this function. Then we will take it and we will deposit it into the farm. And this farm, as we can see, is the barrel drum farm. So that's the last step. So as soon as the assets goes into our vault, we give them to barrel drum. And then we have, I think, the last thing I'm going to talk about, which is the compounding. So because we're taking users' assets, right, we also take, we compound it for them. And from Baradrome, we're currently earning XKDK, which is a non-transferable token from Kodiak. They are going to convert this XKDK to KDK at the later stage, but I think that's currently not happening. It is not live yet, and we're unsure when that's going to be live. So currently we are earning XKDK, which is non-transferable. And we're also earning O Barrow. So during this compounding, we take the rewards that's been accumulated somewhere. So we take the rewards that's been accumulated, and we deposit them back in here with this swap parameters using the Zapper that we talked about before. Yeah. And again, a bunch of helper methods to manage the vault here. Yeah, as we can see, this is the XKDK stuff. Okay. I think I'm gonna stop it there then, Daniel.
Perfect. Now, to summarize and emphasize some key points that can help our security user to effectively identify vulnerabilities, I would like to make you some questions. The first one is, what unexpected bugs have you encountered during past audits, if any, and how did they impact your security assumptions or threat model?
Yeah. So we haven't seen too many of these like important bugs. Like codebase is quite straightforward. I think we've been live and tested also for quite a while, over a year. So we feel quite secure that the code is working. I think we did receive some bugs on the newer stuff, like the DeFi stuff. They were quite small, of course, but still, I'm unsure how to answer the threat model. but I do think there was there's always going to be bugs, but nothing that changed our way of thinking. Put it that way.
Got you. Got you. Which key areas should backenders prioritize and why?
Yeah. So I think the DeFi stuff, like the trifecta, because it's the most complicated, and it's also the newest part of the code. So I think that's that place where people should be looking, because that's probably where there are the highest impact and also potentially the most bugs.
I see. Thanks. Are there any specific tips your team can share about what to look for in your code base?
No. So again, I would probably just repeat the same answer I just did.
Mhm.
And yeah, look
Okay.
at the new DeFi stuff.
Would you point to specific resources or recommended documentation for learning purposes about your project and code base?
So yeah, when it comes to our products and code base, I think the docs that we have at docs.yeet.xyz is currently the best potentially only source of documentation if we ignore the code itself. Then of course we have our partners, Ooga Booga and Drone, which also should be providing documentation. But I think most of the use cases, the docs that we have should be enough to try and understand what's happening.
Right. Um, can you explain the various access control roles within your protocol, if there are any?
Yeah. So we have owner and manager, and the current owner is our multisig for security reasons, of course. And then we have a manager which has limited permission to move assets. One example of a manager is when the game revenue that goes to the staker then is being in the staking contract for a while, and then a manager executes the moving of these assets by sapping them into the vault. So that's a manager, and he can only execute this kind of moving of assets function. So owner and manager.
Fantastic. Those two. Um, I'm not sure if you already anticipated that. Are there any areas of your code base that you think could be most challenging for Hesar, or do you expect bugs to arise due to implementation complexity?
So I mean, again, I think the most complex areas are the trifecta.
Hmm.
On a high level, the trifecta is very complicated, but on the code implementation that we have, part of our protocol, it's not that high, but it's still probably the most complex area of our code base, and probably where we have had the least amount of eyes, since it is the newest. And again, like since it's the most complicated, I think it's the easiest place for people to miss anything. Uh, when it comes to our game, the game contract has been the same for a very long time. We had a bunch of audits over it, so I think that's a contract that's you're not really gonna find anything useful, at least not from our side, I believe. But happy to
Okay.
be proven wrong.
Okay. Right. So this was the last question. Um, really appreciate you giving this thorough explanations. The session covered a lot of information, many intricate details, truly awesome. So if you have any follow-up questions as are watching the session, feel free to reach out to Yeet team on our Discord channel, and they'll be happy to provide any clarifications. Once again, thank you all and happy hunting.
Thank you.